Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach,
And I'm Pepper.
and today we're going to talk about 10 games that you can play at Thanksgiving. So, whether they be Thanksgiving themed or just games we thought of when we thought of Thanksgiving, we kind of compiled a list of about, I don't know, we probably had 20-ish games, I would say, and then kind of narrowed it down to the 10 we liked most for this. And we were doing this for other holidays as well, so maybe some of those might be in either a Christmas video or we already put out a Halloween one. If you want to go check that one out, you can. Uh, but yeah, this is just kind of our 10 games we thought of when we thought of games you could play at Thanksgiving that kind of get you into the mood or theme of Thanksgiving, at
Yeah,
least for us.
yes. And this one is definitely a lot harder, I think, than Halloween. Because that one, you can
Yes.
really go on a scary or horror themed vibe, where Thanksgiving is a bit harder to define in board games, at least.
Right. I would agree. But yeah, let us know in the comments below which games you think are maybe you have in your collection that you think would fit into this kind of theme. Let us know. We'd love to hear what you think.
Yes. But the first one, I think, is kind of maybe the one that we both thought of first. At least I think it was mine. A feast for Odin. And it's right in the title. It's a big feast. And what more do you want after an actual big feast than to feast on a giant game with a ton of components that will cover the entire table? You're going to need to clean up real fast and put everything away, all those leftovers, because this takes up the whole table.
Yes, it really does. And yeah, I think to note we don't have these in a particular order, so this is just 10 games. We're not saying we think one is more than the other, but yeah, this one's definitely fits that, or at least for us, feels like okay. When I think of Thanksgiving, the first thing I think of is kind of a feast, eating all this good stuff. You could argue you probably have that for like a maybe Christmas or just holidays in general. But I feel like Thanksgiving is thought of as the one with kind of maybe the biggest, most extravagant feast. And that fits this game pretty well because, yeah, you're doing a ton of stuff. If you've never played this one, this is an Uwe Rosenberg game. Probably his biggest game. It definitely is his most action spaces. And you'll feed your people, as always. If you've ever played his games, you can tell by the title, you probably got to feed your people. And you can see it up there in the top right of that board on the top. It depends what round it is. You may have to feed, or how many people you have, which round I think those coincide with each other, but shows how much you're going to have to feed them uh, by the end of each round. So you got to leave some things for the end of the round. But yeah, you've got like, I don't know, what is it, 40, 50 worker placement
I think, yeah,
locations?
like 54 or something like that, worker spots, which kind of, as you can see, are broken down into colors and rows, and they do, it
Some of them
just
are
gets,
similar.
it's very similar, yes, just costs you a little more, maybe the farther right you go, but maybe gives you a better benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's still a lot, so that still narrows down to like 12 or 13 unique types of actions, but it's not as intimidating as 56 unique.
All
Got to
right.
learn every single one. So
Yeah, I don't know if something like that could work. Let me know in the comments below if there is a game out there that has 56 completely unique. I mean, these are I think mostly unique, but
yeah,
follow the same, like we said, rows or whatever, kind of a similar action that you're doing typically.
yeah,
So yeah, this one's a lot of fun. I think it's probably my favorite of like the if you're comparing kind of those big three of Agricola, Caverna, and a Feast for Odin. I think this one's probably my favorite out of those three, personally.
yeah. I would agree. I would agree. But this is not if you don't really play that many board games, maybe play a few that Grandma has at her house. This is not going to totally. There's probably some games on this list that would be for you, and we'll get to those later. But this is not a game that you should be playing as one of
No,
your first bigger experiences as a gamer. So that is
I
a
agree. That is a warning. That's a good warning.
but
Yes,
next
this is a
up.
big game with a lot going on.
Yes. Next up is, I think, also a little more of a complicated game. That is Viticulture.
Ooh.
This one is, well, I was going to say a Stonemeyer game, but either people know that or it's not really important to those people, so I guess I don't have to say that. But it's a farming game, and I guess I don't know farming with grapes and making wine and kind of what part of the season that takes place in. I guess it goes all seasons because on this game you have a board that does cover all the seasons. So this could be really any holiday, but don't know much about that. But any farming really does kind of give that feeling of autumn to me,
Right. Being from the
especially.
Midwest, we got grain farming going on, and it's always kind of in this time of year that yeah, people are harvesting. So yeah, I think this is kind of like the feasting itself, the harvesting of crops. Both of those things kind of come together, I think, for me, and make it feels very Thanksgiving-y.
Yes. Yeah, and kind of the color scheme as well really helps it.
Mhm. Yeah, I would agree. But yeah, this is another worker placement, so we're back to back worker placement games here. I think this one is a bit simpler if you really want. Like Pepper said, if you're still getting into games, still newer, I'd probably get this one over Feast for Odin. I think it's a little bit easier to get to, but still has a decent amount of stuff going on with the different cards and stuff. I think that's probably one of the biggest parts to it, but it
Mhm.
definitely doesn't have quite as many worker placement places. But I think what makes this one unique, and I would say this one for me is my favorite farming simulation of a game that I've had. Let me know in the comments below which one you think is better than Viticulture for farming, because I want to find the best farming game, and I think right now this one for me is the best because you, like Pepper said, you have all the seasons. If you have the Tuscany, otherwise you technically have all the seasons in the other one, but you're mainly focusing on two seasons where you're placing your workers. But with the Tuscany expansion, you've got all four seasons, kind of where you can place workers, and gives you a few more options in that one. But yeah, I loved it with just the original. I think for me the Tuscany expansion brings it to that next level,
The
especially
same
having all the
board, they
seasons.
just put a couple different lines to divide it. Same
Yeah,
exact.
they added a couple more
There,
actions.
there
I
we
think that
go.
were nice. That just a couple more options for you to do, which I think was a good idea. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love this one. It's a great worker placement game if you like worker placement. If you've kind of started with some intro worker placement games and you're looking for your next step, I think this one's a great one for that.
Yes. And following
Got
with
the Grande worker even. I forgot about the Grande. He's great
grinding worker.
too.
Let's give it 3 more minutes. Let's talk about the grande worker.
It's Michaela's favorite thing.
It is a great mechanism. But yeah, following, I guess that's why I should say it's Stonemaier, because we have another Stonemaier game directly after this, and that is a little more approachable. So this one I
Are
would
we continuing
recommend.
with worker placement, Pepper?
We are continuing with
I
worker
guess that's just
placement.
a Thanksgiving mechanism.
It is place your workers, even though it's a holiday, you shouldn't be working, but you're placing them and feasting with them with the rewards of your actions. I don't know. It's hard to tie that in there, but Charterstone, as you can see, is a little more cartoonish, and I would say that is fitting because the gameplay is a lot simpler with how it is played. I don't know,
It's the simplest of the
maybe
three, I would say.
it is. It's still maybe not the core of the game is very simple, but because it is what we call a legacy game, which is you play it, I think it's like
Make
12.
permanent changes to the game.
Yes, you make permanent changes as you play through a series of like 12 games. So you kind of play the same character each time, and at the end, there's one grand winner that is crowned, and you're upgrading things and putting stickers out onto the board, and it's a really cool experience, but that also
Mhm,
is maybe a little barrier to entry to make it super approachable, but it still is. The core of it's very simple.
mhm. Yeah, I think out of all of them, the worker placement piece of it is the simplest of all. It's a lot of just kind of collecting these resources and then kind of completing uh, goals or yeah cards, essentially contract cards, whatever you want to call it, and then being able to kind of place those typically stickers out onto the board somewhere. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think this one was a great experience. If you have a full weekend ahead of you for Thanksgiving, you can get some feasting in, and then you got a whole weekend of playing Charterstone a few times a day until
Yes.
you get through the whole campaign. I think was this one 12 games,
I think
and the
it's
games are very fast. The games are
yeah.
very fast. You could, if you were, started in the morning, you could probably get through this in one day.
Yeah,
I think.
probably.
I
Yeah,
mean, it'd be a good full day, especially with some breaks in there. But
yeah,
it's quick enough that you could.
yeah, I think so. And it's got pumpkins right there, one of the resources. How could we not put it in?
Yeah, I think Jamie said I could be misremembering, but I think the designer of this one and publisher, he said I think he was playing with a group of people, campaign of it, and they had like a Charterstone themed. Maybe it was just a get together for eating. It might not have been actually Thanksgiving. It might have just been getting together and like based on who their like faction was, they had
Oh,
to bring something that kind of represented that. So you can do that if you want to make it a whole thing. But you probably have to know in advance so that you can bring the food if
that's
you're
true.
planning for a full weekend of it. But which kind of faction you're playing and know a little
Mm,
bit more about them. But I thought that sounded pretty cool, and that made me think of this one for Thanksgiving
that's
as
pretty
well.
cool. Pretty cool. And I forget the order of the rest of these. So the next one is Feel It
Is it worker
Open.
placement? No.
No, we're breaking the trend. It is Diced Veggies. Now, this one is very approachable. It's
Mhm.
from a company called, I think, Kids Table Board Games, and that is designed to be accessible to children. So,
6 plus, right there on the box.
right there, 6 plus, and this goes 2 to 4 players. So if you have a huge group over for Thanksgiving, you're gonna have to split up into different games. But this one, it's food themed. I think that's one of the biggest draws for it. I really like this one. It's one of my favorite, just very simple games, filler games, as we call it, games that can be played in a short period of time and with a
Mhm.
very simple, approachable rule set. And in this one, you kind of create this grid, this group of dice here, and you use this cleaver or whatever to chop off a section of dice, following certain rules. They can't add up to more than 10 or something like that. And you chop it off and you slide it, and you gain those dice, which you want those for their colors to be able to fulfill these certain ingredients on these recipes. And that's just pretty much the game. That's
Mhm.
very simple but very fun. Uh, it's just fun. It's like a toy. It's like playing around with this little hatchet and chop off a few dice. That's a really cool mechanism, and it works. We
Mhm.
even play on. We have a rug. We have a mat on top of our table, and it gets caught a little more than it would, I assume, on a wood table, but it
Mhm.
still works pretty good. So it's a good gimmick.
Yes, I would agree. I think, yeah, that it's a very simple game, and I like what it does. And then I think what really makes it for me, outside of just doing that, it's not. It is pretty simple, but then like I think the cards on the side there, where you see like that will knock your socks off with truffle oil, scrumptious. That's what really makes the game for me because that's where the dice matter a little bit more. Otherwise, you can just play those ones with just colors. But if you get kind of certain patterns, or do certain things, meet certain extra criteria, you kind of will combine those two with what you'll have a Western omelet with truffle oil or
Oh, yep.
Western omelet that will knock your socks off. So you kind of combine those two things and can get a lot more points. And I think that's what gives it kind of that little extra bite for the game, but also doesn't add a ton of extra complexity.
Yeah.
But just some of those, I think, by the end of it, like making those dishes, I think is the funnest part. Like when you combine those two things, just reading those names sometimes is a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. Gives you a little more direction what you want, and
Mhm.
it adds more fun just with saying the names of them.
Mhm.
And next up, survey says Honey Buzz.
Ooh,
This one, this is the
different
worker
kind of
placement
harvest.
game.
It
Uh,
is worker placement. Sorry, we didn't necessarily look at what mechanism were in these. We just picked the ones that we thought fit
we
best.
might have to turn this into a top 10 worker placement games. But yeah, it's kind of a bit of a harvest as well, and just it gives me an autumn feel with this. I guess it's
Could be summer. Could
kind
be
of spring
spring.
and summer as well. It's very colorful and sunny, but it's on this list, so we put it here. This one, is a beautiful game, and there is a deluxe version. I think these tiles are thick and plastic in the deluxe version, which they are here. But other than that, I think everything else you're seeing here is just in the base version that you can get, and I think we were able to get it for like 30 to 40 bucks. So a really fantastic value for really awesome production, amazing artwork. And this one, you're going out and you're doing a few things. You are kind of getting resources, different types of nectar to fulfill these orders to these different animals, as well as going and building your hive grid here and surrounding these. I forget what they're called in the game, but pretty much placing these tiles.
Just a cell, honeycomb.
I think,
I
yeah,
don't know.
maybe a cell. So once you surround an empty spot, you then, I believe, activate everything that is around it, all of these symbols, which is a really satisfying thing, and it really just gives you just little turn, little turn, little turn, and just a massive turn where you activate a bunch of stuff, and just really score a ton, hopefully, if you've planned well.
Right. Yeah. I think this one's big into worker placement, but also big into just kind of that pattern building because you're going to want certain colors. You can see that one's built with kind of 4 white edges and 2 red ones. But then, yeah, you can see some of them that are already filled in, which that, oh, I see. They misplaced how that one was in there, so it doesn't line up. But yeah, you need it to match what you have there. So you're trying to do that little bit of pattern building in there. Focus on that while also uh, getting the actions in there, hopefully that you want to try to activate on your turn when you do complete that. So yeah, it's a really fun little game, and the worker placement style, if you've ever played Coal Baron, is the one that's coming to mind. It's kind of like that, where you can activate a worker placement spot if you have one more bee than previously placed one. So you can see there in that kind of middle row, the blue player initially played that action, and then the yellow one came in and played it after them, so they had to pay 2 bees, and then the pink player after that had to pay 3 bees to activate that. So uh, a player could go back there if they wanted to pay 4 bees to go there, which you could, because this game you're either placing bees or taking all your bees back. So it's just an action to take them back, and otherwise the game just kind of keeps continuing. There's no round structure to this one, so just kind of keep going around the table until criteria are met to end the game. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a great one, great production,
Yes.
great production for price. One of the all times, I think.
All time greats. Need to play it more. But the next one, let's see if we've played this next one enough. This one is criminally underplayed in our collection.
Mikhail and I have played it a couple more times this year. It's on the 20x5.
Just avoid playing it with me. But
We,
next
we
up,
gave you a chance. We gave you a chance.
Patchwork, which, yes, we do own now, right? Yeah, we own it.
We own it.
But I think we were introduced to it online. We played it on Board Game Arena, which is where we mostly play our online games. But this one is also by Uwe Rosenberg, who did the first one, that Feast for Odin game, and that was a big game with a lot of things. And this one is a lot simpler. I wouldn't, if I didn't know, I wouldn't say they were by the same person, except for
Right.
maybe because they liked these shaped
Polyano.
and trying to fit them into a grid, which you are also doing in Feast for Odin. But this is just 100% that. There's not a ton of action spots. But yeah, this one we need a round table because this looks fantastic set up on here like this. Kind of have this big circle ring of tiles, and there will be a pawn marker on there. And on your turn, like you can choose to move it 1 to 3 spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it works? And
Yep.
you take one of those tiles and put it into your grid here, creating a quilt. And you are trying to obviously fill as much as possible. I think there's also a little bit of a race to fill. Is it like a 7x6 area or something like that in your grid, or 5x5? I forget
I
what
think
that
something like that.
was, but yeah, you want these buttons because they'll earn you points or money. I guess it can be spent. I forget. I have
It's a
not.
currency.
It's a currency, but also
Yeah, because you can see the costs on some of those. They'll cost you a certain amount of buttons
oh,
and time.
yeah.
to do. So there's kind of two currencies in
Yeah.
this game. But yeah, the buttons themselves are also points at the end of the game, and then you're trying to have as few open spaces at the end of the game as possible because each one of those is negative points. So in this game, it is very easy to actually end up with a negative score, especially if you're not great at filling out polyominoes. If that's not your thing, I don't think this game is going to change your mind on that because it is kind of just pure polyomino. So yeah, I really like this one. This one's criminally underplayed, in my opinion. I don't know if you and Michaela love it quite as much as I do. I just find that I love trying to optimize kind of polyomino placement and stuff and kind of fill in the grid as much as possible. And I don't mind that much if I end up getting negative points.
No,
But this one can be nasty.
it
Yeah,
can.
your opponent can exit whether or not they're probably not taking it on purpose to stop you, but sometimes they just end up needing the same one as you do, and then it's just unfortunate because it's like, I really needed that one, and I thought I was set up to take it, and here you take it when I didn't even think you'd need it. But
Yeah. It can be tough. It can be tough. But
yeah, this one's 2-player only, so
yes.
another thing to note. Another one where if you have a big family, you're gonna need probably 5 to 10 copies of this game if you all want to play it at the same time.
That is true. That is true. Or just get the smaller grid. You get this quarter, this quadrant of this grid. But yeah, good game. Good game. Next up, we have Picture Perfect. And this one is about taking a picture at a family gathering and trying to fulfill everyone's wants and needs. So Bob is like, I don't want to stand next to Susan, and I want to be standing in front of the plant. And even the plant has demands, and the dog has demands. And it's crazy. It really captures that wild family gathering. Everyone's got opinions, and it's just chaos. It's torture, some people would say. Um,
Yeah, this one does have a lot of that fun. If you like the game Clue, it's
oh, yeah.
got a little bit of that feeling, but instead of kind of having to guess that kind of thing, having some of the information. I haven't played Clue in a long time. I don't know remember exactly how it works, but yeah, in this one you kind of will get a specific person, and you'll have those 3 cards and know exactly what they want. You'll know that information exactly. Uh, so you'll know what they want. Sometimes people though will have like things that cannot work together. So sometimes you just have to maximize what you can because there's no possible way to meet both of their desires exactly. So that's always interesting when it's like, oh, or even like one person might have a card that says needs this or desires this, but then desires this, which offset each other too. So you can't even, no matter what you do with that person, the most points you can get is whatever. Um, and then there's a part to it too where you get to slide in you get like this multiplier card. So then this person is actually worth more points if you fulfill the requirements. So you kind of have to decide when you want to add that to it because if other people don't know that that's added to it, they might have seen that person earlier on, but and they might be fulfilling their stuff, but maybe they are like, I probably won't, I have to forego that because I want to get these people in this place.
Yeah.
So then they end up finding out later, oh shoot, Zach put that doubler in there, or however many. I think it's double the points, right?
I think so.
I think it's double. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit of extra information you could know on top of your opponents.
Yeah. And memory. You kind of have to try to remember
There's a little memory.
what you've seen before and what information you have about people. There's a lot, as you can see, of people here. Sometimes you just got to make blind guesses. Maybe it's better to
That's
leave
true.
them
You
out
might
of the
not.
picture.
There's going to be some you probably won't, a couple you won't see, and yeah, you just got to make blind guesses. You don't have to add them in there, so that is a choice as well because I don't remember what it is, but I think you get negative points if you
Yeah.
don't fulfill a certain amount or none at all or something. So you can take that risk of just putting them in there and hoping that you fulfill at least something, but that could come back to bite you, especially if someone puts a multiplier card in there
Oh,
and you
yeah.
don't meet it. That could be really bad.
Yes.
Potentially. But yeah, you'd have to go into this one knowing there is that little bit of memory element, trying to remember what goes with what person. So if you really hate memory games, this one's probably not for you. This one's definitely more of closer to a party style game
Yeah.
than especially everything we've named so far.
Yeah.
So I would go into it knowing that there's not too much like actual like strategy to this one. It's just kind of, do you call it a picture perfect information game? Perfect
Mm.
information? I don't know if it's perfect.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about what. But yeah, oh yeah, I forgot. And you actually take a picture with your phone at the end is
Oh yeah,
how you're supposed to do it. So this picture here is someone having taken the picture, and that's what you base it on to score.
that's true because
Someone's
that can
like,
matter for some of those requirements.
yes, they're like, I don't want my face to be seen, or maybe they want none of their face to be covered up, and depending on what angle you take that picture at also matters. So very
Yes,
unique.
that's a good point.
And next up, we have another two-player game. So the holiday where it is very known that you celebrate it only with one other person, Thanksgiving. We have put
Worker
on
placement.
a bunch
That's
of.
because everyone else is working, Pepper.
That's true. That is true. Fox in the Forest, and you are the big fan of this one, so you will explain it.
I am the big fan of this one. And this is a trick taking game. So if you tend to like trick taking games, and maybe in your family gatherings you play Hearts, and maybe you're sick of Hearts, you and one other person, sick of it. You don't want to play that one anymore, but you really do want to play a trick taking game. This one's the game for you, you too. Because yeah, it's got three suits in it, and you've got numbers. Was it 1 to 11? Is it 11 or 12,
So,
13? Um, but yeah, you've got those cards, and all the odd cards do have kind of these special abilities that they do. That there's usually a trump suit. You can kind of potentially switch that out. You can change some of the cards in your hand. You can, I think, force, even if you lose the trick, the loser will start the next round type thing, or you'll start the next round. You can force someone to play their highest card. Just a bunch of kind of cool things. And yeah, so the trick taking itself is a lot of fun. And with those abilities, it kind of just makes it really interesting. But the biggest part of the game is how many tricks you end up taking. So there'll be, I think, is it 13 total tricks taken in the game, and you've got this kind of scale from 0 to the taking 13, all 13 tricks of how many you want to take for to earn a certain amount of points. And you can see in that one picture there's some point tokens there, and you'll get that based on how many tricks you took throughout the game. And you either want to take like a 0 through 3 um, tricks, or else it's like I think like 7, 8, 9 or something along those lines. But you don't want to go over that because then you're greedy. You get nothing. Uh, or you want to, if you're anywhere in between that, you kind of get like a scaled amount of points, kind of goes down. But yeah, those biggest sweet spots are in those two areas. So you're just trying to manage your hand in order to win that certain amount of tricks. Or, if you haven't won tricks early and your opponent already is up there, trying to think, how can I set them to get them over that, max amount, so that they get nothing. And maybe I can still, get the max points or something. It's just a lot of fun. I think the 7 card too has that special ability of whoever wins the 7 gets just a point straight up. So that's one you want to win more than more than the others. So it kind of gives you just that extra thing to think about.
yeah.
Just a great game. Works great at 2 players. I mean, it is only a 2 player game, but it's just a great 2 player experience,
Yeah.
especially for trick taking. Trick taking 2 player hard to do, I think.
Yeah.
So it works really well.
I agree. That was an amazing explanation, Zach. Just good job. You should be proud of yourself. I mean, just
Oh,
that
I'm proud.
moved this up into my top 10 games of all time.
I figured I would. This one's on BGA too, so you can try it. You can try it out there if you want to see it. Try before you buy.
Yes. And next up here, we have another two-player game. Wow. That's feels like the opposite. Thanksgiving being a two-player game, but they just seem to fit. It's beer and bread. I'm like, that's things you have at Thanksgiving. So that's gotta be. It's gotta be on the list. Look at it. It just looks like Thanksgiving. A little bit of a harvest going on. This is also kind of a farming themed game. And it's a really beautiful one. I love the look of this one and the ton of wooden components for the resources and goods. And this one, you get these dual use cards or multi-use cards. You can either use them as an order to fill, kind of as you can see it as a printed bunch of resources on this chalkboard. That'll be an order that you'll want to fill if you use it like that. Otherwise, you can play them like this to generate resources, which you'll be using to fill those orders, which is a really cool mechanism where, as you can see, if they just played this bottommost card, they will activate all of the wheat and barley, or whatever those two are, all of those on that card, as well as ones played previously. So awesome mechanism there, but you have a limited storage space, so you got to be careful about that, and the goods actually go to your opponent if you do overproduce. So you can be thankful there in this game, just like you're supposed to on this holiday, that your opponent made way too much, which we do in Thanksgiving, and left some for you.
Exactly. Yeah, that is a great mechanism in there, and yeah, it reminds me of games like in the Hall of the Mountain King and stuff, where
Oh,
sometimes you're too efficient and have kind of too much stuff going on, and in that game you don't give it to your opponents, but yeah, you just uh, sometimes get more than you really have time to utilize.
yes.
But yeah, this one a little bit different, but yeah, kind of a similar feel where you just get a lot of goods all at once and very satisfying.
Yes, yes. I forget. I guess it looks like they have special things on the bottom of the cards. Maybe they're triple use. I forget exactly how it is. I think we only played it once or twice. It's very good. It's right over there in the closet. Good game.
It is.
And then the final one that we have here, I chose this one. This is one that I kind of championed. You did not. You did not have it on the list, but on your list. But I put this one in there, and I just feel at least our edition of this game, just the feel of it, is really gathering around a table and lying your butts off in Sheriff of Nottingham. Which, what's Thanksgiving about, if not lying your butts off and trying to sneak contraband past the
Wow.
sheriff? Um, this one, I think, and it's really proving my point as to why I really like this game for this list, is the higher player count and just the group dynamic you can get in this, sitting around the table with 5 or 6 people. I guess I don't know what it goes up to. It looks like at least 5 people. And now that we put so many two-player games on here, I'm just feeling better about this pick. And you get these different resources with this. This is our initial version. There's a newer version. I have not played with that one, but in this one, the artwork is fantastic, and it just has a certain vibe to it that I think is fitting to Thanksgiving. It has food. It has bread and cheese and apples and chicken, a live chicken. You're probably not used to that, but chicken, turkey, same thing. Get some pepper
And
and
contraband.
yes, get some
Crossbows, as
crossbones,
you use on Thanksgiving.
silk, and all that good stuff that you're trying to sneak into your bag, or just be honest and say there's 5 cheese in this bag. And the sheriff has to decide, is there 5 cheese in that bag? The last guy had 4 cheese. There can't be that much cheese. So they open yours up and they find that there is no cheese at all. And it's all crossbows and rye bread. And you got to pay a fine. Or
Oh, geez,
you
the
were
worst.
honest and they have to pay you.
It's true. That's true. I I did not have this one on the list, and yeah, you were the one that put this together. I didn't know you put this one on there to end it off, but I did tell you this was for some reason a game I thought of when I was thinking of. I don't know if it's just I was thinking more of fall and harvest, but
Yep.
for some reason it did make me think of this game, which is weird. Let me know. Let us know in the comments below. Does this make you think of Thanksgiving? I don't know why. Uh, maybe it's just the collection that we have. We just didn't have other games that really made us think of it as much. But this was one when I was kind of looking at the collection. I was also thinking like, that could be on the list. I, I don't know what makes it that way, but
It's maybe we played it around Thanksgiving. There, one probably the weirdest one that I do still associate with Thanksgiving, but I wouldn't even dare like attempt to put it on the list is 5 Tribes, and I think that's just because I remember an experience where we were eating Thanksgiving leftovers and playing Five Tribes, and that's burnt into my brain. So that one is paired with Thanksgiving for me, but I would
It's
never
also a Thanksgiving
actually
game.
say it is.
Yes. Let us know in the comments below what your Thanksgiving game is that you think of, even if it's not really a Thanksgiving game. Five Tribes, which is obviously a Thanksgiving game. The most Thanksgiving of all games. Five Tribes.
Yes. But yeah, that is our list here. And guess what? We asked for people's favorite Halloween candy last time for the Halloween video. So we'll ask for your favorite Thanksgiving food. I gotta go with stuffing. Mama's stuffing. Homemade. It's fantastic.
I probably get lit up in the comments, but not a big fan of turkey, so I'm going to say KFC chicken.
Wow.
I really like mashed potatoes with all the good stuff in it.
Oh, yeah.
Some people might think it's probably deadly, deadly potatoes by the time you get done with adding all the butter and the cream cheese and all that stuff in there that makes the potatoes the best they can be. But that's probably my favorite overall, just because, not the biggest fan of turkey. So if I did get KFC chicken, that would be competing with those potatoes.
True. That's true. Good pick.
Yeah, never been a fan of like the pumpkin pies. So some people out there probably like the desserts more, but
Oh boy, you are gonna
not a
get
big
you are
not a
gonna get
big
roasted.
pie fan to begin with. So, ew,
We like fake apple pie. It's a
we like fake
family
apple pie
recipe,
with crackers in it.
just made out of saltines. There are
It's the
no
best.
It's good.
It's the best. But otherwise, we appreciate it if you've made it this far. Give us a thumbs up if you liked this and want to see kind of future videos like this. Subscribe because we will be doing another one for Christmas. And like I said, go back and check out the one we did for Halloween. See if you agree with us there. If you've got more thoughts on the games, otherwise let us know below. But otherwise, we hope to see you on the next one. And as always, don't forget to keep on nibbling on our content and your Thanksgiving meal.